Mic 5 is null and void. Okay.
There you are. Hurry. Okay. Well, this is a special AllDayLive segment. Patricia-Shupe, host of Call for Investigation, is the party that we're listening to in this second here in this segment, and I'm going to bring up her name here, Patricia-Shupe, and it says right here you can contact her. We're going to discuss some things here. As you saw, as this segment began, an article from a debacle with one of the Native Nations tribes. It has to do with votes, voting, and things like that. What we're exploring is the idea that we can look into how we can create broadcasting and how it may influence things in this country, how we can help things different ways. Pat, what we did was show that the Native Nations groups don't have judicial systems. Apparently a lot of them don't. From what I understand, there's about 482 of them. But if we're looking at creating a broadcasting system that ties into issues across the nation here, because potentially now that we're archive.com, that we will be able to consider a broadcasting system that now can be linked in anywhere in the world and contacting groups, even Native Nations group, for example. I am WillPWilson, by the way, and Patricia-Shupe is in the background. That's you, Pat. And we're listening to you on this issue of common law courts, if they are potentially going to look at broadcasting. We're looking at ways that we can help in instructing them about Native Nations common law courts. And by the way, we have Keith-Ljunghammr here. We have Gizmo. There's Keith. And Gizmo as well, but we have Dennis-Maher as well, the mayor of the U District. Dennis, it's good to see you. Right, and now we're going to turn the mics on. We're having trouble with this equipment, but just bear with us as we try to get this broadcasting going. We're testing it out, the means by which we can broadcast across the country, across the nation, on all public access groups. And maybe there's a need for Native Nations Network television. Patricia, you are Ponca, Lakota, and Sioux Indian, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Lakota Rosebud tribe. Yes.
Right.
And with my background in the Seattle Circuit Court for Common Law Court, and having been the Chief Justice, it behooves us to join forces and understand what is there for all concerned. Triple N, in other words, Native Nations Network, is an excellent way to go. And we do not have to make it complicated. If you're familiar with the judicial system of common law court, the juries make the decisions. The juries ask the pertinent questions of anyone in the courtroom, and it's handled entirely different in manner than what people are used to and or what they're studying in, well, lawyers' educational classes. So if we understand how to do it, and which we can get most anyone started with it, particularly the Native American tribes, because in order to have autonomy, in order to have any type of sovereignty, it is imperative that we have actual justice to be able to adjudicate what must be done properly. And it's not going to be just one person deciding for all. In other words, the judge and jury. That should not happen. It's a little too easy to co-opt or coerce one person. But when you have an entire jury, you're going to get some justice. When you put this together, we're going to have some real answers for the Native Americans. No longer would they get by with such as the Duwamish tribe being sent, scattered, helter-skelter, and then saying, well, you're not a tribe because you're not of the Duwamish River. The treaties that have been just shattered instead of being adhered to, they write them supposedly in good faith, and then it's not carried out. with common law. They wouldn't get by with that. And I'm sorry for a little bit of a stuttering with this. The sound system is so played with right now. I'm just simply trying to say what needs to be said. This is very typical. And if we don't have common law, if we don't adjudicate real court cases according to the merits of the evidence, we will have more problems such as this. To be able to communicate, you need to, not just Native American, everyone needs to hold to their First Amendment rights and the basic Bill of Rights.
Patricia, real quick, this is Will.
Able to have actual justice.
Patricia, we're going to get a real quick comment from Keith and Gizmo and
yes.
the people, everybody here on the panel. And we're having trouble with the mics, as you can hear that in the background, but we'll try and get everything in here. But anyways, Keith, real quick, Gizmo, give us some input. We'll just have to do what we can here. What is some input on this whole idea of the Native Nations Contract? Give me some input on it.
Concerning the Seneca-Cayuga tribe?
Yes, whatever, yeah.
Well, what's going on there is you had, you might say, as Will likes to put the word, debacle. One chief thought he was in charge, and the next chief thought he was in charge. But I think this could also be a lesson for chief financial officers, no pun intended on the word chief, of course, but CFOs. And this is part of the reason why chief financial officers and CEOs make lots of money, is because this is potentially an expense that's going to come out of former Chief Paul Spicer's pocketbook of $1 million. And it's not a joking matter. What he did is he signed checks, theoretically, when he was chief and when he was not chief at the same time. And this is where the common law part comes in that Pat was talking about. He wrote 40 to 50 checks of somewhere around the vicinity of $20,000 for severance pay for people that he'd fired, that he'd fired. So I think part of the solution is for the chief financial officers, if there's any type of an election going on, make sure the day before election you start with a double signature requirement, and then you tear up the checks at the end so you don't have a problem of somebody else saying, no, I'm still in charge, and they write $1 million worth of checks. The common law part came in where the on the quote part here on this article from Tulsa World, Birdsong said, that's the new chief, Birdsong said the court order is not valid because the tribal court created last August was abolished June 7th. And when you have common law court, the Indian tribal system also is a little bit different from our system, but everything should be, at least as far as common law is concerned, should be coming from the people. And especially if you refer back to Article 4, Section 4, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, which is voices coming from the people, but the tribes don't necessarily have to abide by that. Gizmo.
Okay, real quick, go ahead, Gizmo.
Yes, well, I'm part Native American myself, and I know there's some local issues and also this in Oklahoma issue with the tribes, and I know there's a lot of mismanagement of their tribal monies brought
Allegedly.
in. Allegedly. And it just seems like hopefully we can do something to make a difference and make people aware of this, especially tribal members that can vote and make a difference in their tribes. And
Dennis, anything you want to input, Dennis, real quick?
Yes, excuse me. I'm a comedian, and one of my persona is Secret Chief Whitey Beefalo, and I'm a Native Un-American. I was born in America, but I'm not an American, if you can dig that. I'm from the galaxy, as are we all.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're at the last few seconds here, Pat. We're going to have you give one last comment on this common law court that they can get a hold of you. I'll put your information up there so they can get a hold of you. Pat is Patricia-Shupe. She's actually Patricia Johnson Home, excuse me. And she is the daughter of the Lakota, Ponca, and Sioux Indian chiefs. Pat, just so you know that. And we're going to cover these issues more in the future. We're just getting it started. So tell us one last thing, Pat. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, indeed. The National Native Network, I think is it, Native American Network.
We lost her. In any case, everybody, if you want to get back to us, you can get back to Patricia at scantv77 at Yahoo or Gmail, and you can get hold of us here. You know, hope we're trying to do things with everything that tries to do everything, not to do everything. So that's where we're at. AllDayLive, WillPWilson. See you in the next segment. Bye.
New Native Network TV.
Native Nations Network Television. Yes.
Good one, Pat. Mike 5 is null and void.